Right, I wanted to show you this today. We've got to make one of these. Now what this is a base off of, there's the Hyundai. We've changed the position of it now, got it where we want it. Now here's the tool eye, and this sits on here like so, the tool eye, and the cable gets fed through it and mounted there. Now this has this little hole in this arm, is for air blast, which I can hook up if I want, everything's there for it. And an air blast will come out of each of these holes in front of the sensor just to clear any chips. And then you've got a bolt pattern here to match this, and this little relief channel or groove, face groove it would be, is just so the air coming out of here can get under the part and go to all four of these holes. Now the reason why I've got to make this is my tool eye is damaged. Here's the old one. This sits, if we was looking into the machine, this sits in this orientation with this flat bar across here. This flat bar was originally, when this was new, this would have been perfectly faced to be parallel with your x-axis, so you can line this up with an indicator to make sure you're not sitting at that, you know, an exaggerated angle. But this doesn't work. It had been crashed when I got it. This sensor here is missing the end out of it. I took it apart, soldered it back together, where a wire had broken inside, but I think there's a little tiny circuit board in here, and I think that's fried. So although it doesn't look too bad, this doesn't work. So I went to this company in the States, tooleye.com, Touchmaster tool eyes, and I got one of their new ones. Now here it is, nice bit of kit, but the problem we have is they do two types, one with a square base, one with a round base. Now you have to specify which one. I specified the round base, and just confusion, mistakes, these things happen. They sent me a square base, which obviously doesn't fit my mounting point. Now the downside being is, because they're in the States, I'll have to wait probably, now it's the weekend, it's Saturday morning, I'll have to wait probably till the following weekend to get this part, and I need this machine up and running. Yes, I can use it without the tool eye, but I'd rather get it fitted while I can and just get it working from the off. So after speaking to them, coming to an agreement, we've decided that I asked first, and checked that everything else that they make in these two tool eye options with a round base or square base is the same. And they said yes, the wiring's the same, the sensors work the same, it's purely the mounting flange that is different. Now the width across these sensors is different to mine, and the width across these is different to mine, but that's irrelevant because in the manual here, this is the tool eye manual, that, let me try and stand that up for a bit better view. We've got here B63, 64, A6X, A6Z, all these parameters, so your B62, your 61, can be changed in the machine parameters. So when you replace the sensor, because these are never going to be the same when they put them together, spring pressures and all that sort of thing will hold the sensors out differently. See, I can reset them, so that's no issue. So we'll remake this, and then we'll machine it on the lathe, put the relief groove in the back, we'll do this part, it's nice and simple, and then we'll put it on the mill, and we'll just program to do these 3 holes to bolt it down, these small 4 holes for the air blast, which I probably won't use, but if I don't put them in there I will never be able to if I change my mind, and then there'll be 4 holes in the center here to bolt the new tool eye down, same as that bolt pattern. And obviously rather than this circular pocket, we'll put a square pocket in to suit the tool eye. So we're in the lathe. I found a bit of old scrap, which give or take, I think it's about 0.4 undersize, but the OD on this is completely irrelevant. So we've done a program here, quite simple. This is on the ELX controller, so we're going to do it as an event cycle. X end, back 14.5, turning in slightly, back a bit further for clearance when I've got to do the parting off tool, and then out to the, just to where that's slightly above the OD, back to the start position, cycle finish. And then if you look at the part, quite hard to see, but there's the profile pen. There is a groove in here, it's not worth changing tools. I'll put it back in there, but I'll just come in with a 45-degree tool. I'll just come in with that tool there, and then I'll probably just plunge in to just make that. So that's simple, and then obviously I'll drill and bore the hole out to size, and then we're done. So let's get this started. Run part, start. It's probably only going to take 1 or 2 cuts. Get my glasses on. Like that is it. 1 cut. Because of the sizes and what we've got left, it is just 1 cut. So just come across the front, we've got about 1.8 chamfer there, and it just steps down here for where I'm going to part off as a relief. So I'll part that off now. Well, sorry, I'll do the drilling now. We'll get a drill set up, and then we'll come back in a second. Measure the hole in this one. It's an 18mm hole. Just going to check the bottom of that sensor with a mic. You don't want it to be a sloppy fit. 1792. 1792, so it's just under 18. So worth going a little bit undersized. Let's see if I've got a small boring bar set up that'll go in there. I think I'll have to change tool holders. Because we do have a tiny boring bar. We have this one, which will go in. I'll just have to get that set in a holder. Double check that was a 13mm drill bit that I picked up to do the pilot hole. Now we'll go back into our program. We go back into our program. We go to the beginning. We've already done this part of the cycle. So that was the outside profile, and then a cycle position to close it. So what we do here is we'll go to drill bore. Actually, we'll do a position first. So if we go to Z end, the pilot hole's 13, so we'll go to 13 on the X, and we'll go 5mm on the Z, so that's 5mm in front of the job. We want to continue, and we're going to use tool 2. Then we'll do drill bore cycle, we're going to do a boring cycle. We want to X to be at starting off at 13. Let's actually change that, sorry. Let's go back. Right, we've got position. I want to delete that event. So we go back, we've got a position, go forward, go more, cycle. X at 13 is our beginning. Z, we'll say, starts 0.1 in front of the job. We're going to go 13 to 18, so you've got to take 2.5mm off each side. So let's say we do it in nice easy cuts. We'll say 8, approach from the Z, feed rate 150, tool number 2, 0.1 finish cut, feed rate slow it down slightly to 100, still tool number 2. And now it's cycle turn, so we've got to show it our shape. So we're going to come in, and I'm going to put a very slight chamfer on the back of this part. So the hole, I say the hole needs to finish up at, it was 17.92. So we're going to come, let me just think. I don't do many boring cycles on this. So we want to come, actually we need to start, sorry, if I go back, we do the cycle, when you're doing the boring cycle, it's back to front. So you start at the finished size and end up at the size you've got now. So I want to go finishing at 17.92. So if I say I want to start at 19, and let's say I'll start at 0. And if you wanted to play it safe too, you can do. You could say I'll start at 51, which is the OD of the part, and I want to start at 0, and same amount of passes. And then you do cycle turn. You want to go down to your finished ID, which is going to be 17.92. and we still want it to be at 0. And we want to put chamfer on it, and I'm going to say 0.5. It's probably not even that, but it's irrelevant to the chamfer, so 0.5 will give it a nice size. So 0.5. So we have a look. You're not going to see there because it's a second cycle, but we're going to come in. You'll see more in a minute. So our second cycle turn, we want to be 17.92, and we now want to end. We want to go in. The job is 15.08 thick. So if we go in, we're going all the way through the parts. If we go in to, let's just say we give it plenty of clearance, and we'll go to 17 minus, no chamfer, and then cycle turn. We want X to end at 13, which is our pilot hole, but just so you don't end up with a little lip on it, actually, if you just go a little bit under that, 12.5, X to still end at 17 minus, no chamfer, and then you do a position event, so you're now at 12.5, end at 0, and then end the cycle, yes. And now you come back, and now you can see that we've got our ID. So if I go back to program, go at the beginning, I've already done this part of the cycle. So our first event, that's the cycle turn finish. I want to start at event number 7. I've got tool 2 already in there. We'll just back that away from the chuck there. Program run. Start or start at event. I want to start at event, and I want it to be event number 7. Resume. All that error message says it will be done in, I specified 8 passes, and it won't take that many, it says. So we're going back to 0 now. I'll have to kind of adjust the coolant as we go. That's a hefty old first cut, that is. Wouldn't be why it cuts that big on the first cut. You should be able to specify the depth of cut, but on this early controller, this ELX, it doesn't give you that as an option, unfortunately. So it works out the cuts for you. So even if I said I wanted to do that in 16 cuts to make sure every cut's nice and small, it will automatically change it and always make the first cut really big, which, as you see then, is not much good. The second cuts are okay. And a finish of the bore, let me just outline that out a bit. The finished bore is really nice, finish is lovely, but for that little tool, that first cut was a bit much, to be honest. Right, let's measure that. Right, so what size did we say we had that? We had that. 17.92, so we've got 17.92 gauge pin. And that is a nice fit. So there's our gauge pin, 17.92. And what we can do is I can just double check that in here. and then there's the fit in there. Exactly the same. Lovely fit. So that's the bore done. Now what we'll do is we'll part that off, and then I can turn it round to do the face groove. Set that Z0 again, because this is a 4mm parting off tool. Still go 1508. 1508. Now we'll go again. .4, and then we've already done our gauge pin in our bore, 1792. Where I only took, this was already on that size, I only took something like 0.2 off of it, and it's picked up a little bit on that bottom edge, unfortunately, but that's all right, we can clean that up. And we didn't bother with the groove on the outside. I think that's just aesthetics. There's no reason for it there. So there's the two parts. I'll turn it around, clean that off, or actually I'll probably just do that with a chamfer in the drill. Let's get drilled quickly. We just put a countersink tool in the drill and just slowly take the back side off of that. Just clean that up in there nicely. So there's the base of our part. Now all we've got to do is get ourselves set up and go put a square pocket in this section to suit the tool eye. So I'll get over to the mill. Oh, I'll put that face groove in. Actually, I'll turn this around, we'll put that groove in. Although I don't know if my face tool has turned up yet. No, I'm still waiting on that. I'll come in and I'll put that in with a boring bar, like so. And while I'm there, I can clean up that edge. What we'll use here, got Edge Technology spacer for the chuck. And make sure your faces are clean. This centerpiece lines up with the hole in your chuck, come in different sizes. And then that wants to stand off a bit more. So what you get with these, get a full set of parallels. So you take these parallels and you have your spacer there, or your standoff, whatever you want to call it, and then you've got two holes in each side. So let's work out what size we want. Right, so we've got that fitted to the chuck. As you can see, the parallels sit off the face of the chuck and then on the back of the part, just to give you a nice standoff rather than trying to grip this and then worry about how true it's running. That should be plenty good enough for most jobs without going into your indicator. Try to just buff up that edge quickly. You can see where it's just bitten in, but it doesn't matter for this part. I wouldn't leave it like that if it was for somebody else, but for getting the machine up and running, this will be fine. So we're going to come in, we've got the boring bar set up. We're going to come in 4.5mm from the OD inwards and then go 1.5mm deep for that relief channel there for the air blast. So let's get that done. Left me a little step in the middle where I've done two, so let's clean that up. Okay, so the groove's a little bit wider than we wanted it, but that's fine. So let's take that out and we get that set up now to mill the square pocket on the front of it. Bring you back in a minute.